So I'm glad that you had a decent day. I'm sitting here in my hat because it has been raining cats and dogs all day,
Oh,
storming, all that
again.
good stuff. Yeah, I mean it started out fine and then for some reason you know how Florida is. Kind of stuff just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And a thunderstorm came out of nowhere today and just kept raining and pouring and raining and pouring, and finally it stopped around like 4:30 or something like that. So I made a run for it and left the shop because it was super slow today because the weather was shit. I mean, it was like thundering and lightning and all that kind of stuff, so nobody was really doing much shopping, which
Yeah.
was good because yesterday was a really good day.
Nice.
So, yeah, usually Mondays are really slow, but I don't know what was going on. I made probably 3 times what I normally make on a Monday yesterday. So, I guess the rain gods were with me yesterday because it held off. I had a nice Monday, and now I'm back to shitty sales today.
Well, the sky in southern Florida is it's like there's a glory hole in the sky. You never know when or what's going to come out the other side.
It's true. It's true. And if
Yeah.
it's and it's dirty and
It's going to
yeah.
leave you a big old mess.
Yeah, man, maybe even a disease or two if you walk through the wrong puddle.
But it's all a guaranteed good time
Exactly,
or something.
exactly. Before we get into this too much further, what side do you want me to be on? Am I on the right side tonight
You
already?
are. Yeah.
Yes, I'm on the right side.
Yeah.
Oh, I think something's wrong with my toilet. So that's going to be really exciting to fix tonight. I
Well, what do
tried
you
to
mean?
flush it and it flushed, but like it kept running and running and running. And so I ended up just turning off the water because it just didn't feel like I was afraid it was going to overflow or something like that. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens with that. I love home ownership. Just
It's so
it's
much
so
fun.
much. It is so much fun and it's so inexpensive.
That one actually, when the water runs like that, doesn't that mean, I mean, it can mean different things, but isn't that usually when like that rubber gasket is like not sealing anymore?
Probably something like that.
That if it is that, that's actually not an expensive replacement, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, I might be peeing in the bidet tonight. Who knows? If anything, the gym at the complex has a bathroom, so I can go there before I go to bed and then hopefully not have to get up in the middle of the night. But it always feels like I have to get up in the middle of the night because I'm fucking old now,
I know.
So
Yeah.
there's always that one time in the middle of the night where, or the dog wakes me up or something. Not that they need to go out, but it wakes me up enough that I need to go out.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I get
anyway.
that a lot. Well, allow me to introduce us.
Okay.
I'm Blake Roberts.
And I'm Amanda Kamada, and this is Forbidden. I really love your shirt that you have on, by the
Well, I
way.
was actually just gonna say, I swear I'm not wearing pants.
Mm-hmm.
I am in forbidden uniform, which is clothing optional, but also no clothing below the waist,
Mm-hmm.
except for underwear or swimwear is what we allow.
Right, right. And I am in swimwear this evening.
Nice.
So just like a little halter swimwear top. And I am drinking it's interesting. It's called Hoplark sparkling water.
Hmm.
And it actually sort of tastes like it has hops in it, like a beer, but
Oh.
it's a sparkling water. So I just went ahead and mixed it with vodka because, why not?
I
And it
thought you were
turned
gonna
out
say you mixed
okay.
it with beer.
No, it actually kind of tastes like a beer with like a little vodka taste to it. I don't know. It's actually kind of refreshing. Very
Oh,
good. Yeah. Yeah.
nice.
So
That sounds
cheers.
lovely. Cheers.
Yeah. What are you having?
I am drinking I think a Sauvignon Blanc from South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So give it to me. Anything fun going on? How was your weekend? Because mine was boring as shit. I didn't do anything.
Mine was Actually, I spent a lot of time with my parents this weekend. They're in town. So we had dinner Friday night. I actually took them to dinner at this place called Top of the Rock, which I think I mentioned previously. I went there with Josh. It's like a panoramic view sort of situation.
Yes, I do recall that.
So I haven't seen them for a couple months, so I took them out for Mother's Day and Father's Day as like a belated treat. And then drinks with my parents at, Tommy Bahama?
Yes, I do.
Their Scottsdale location here has a bar. So we went there for drinks because my
That's
parents were
fun.
shopping. And then we
Mm-hmm.
had dinner again Sunday night. So, and then other than that, I really just was working on this episode. So,
Awesome.
yeah, that's been
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. As I said, my weekend was quite boring. What did I do on Saturday? I took Saturday off of the shop and I tried to go get an infusion. I get like these IV infusions once every couple of weeks or once every 2 or 3 weeks because I have such a unhealthy lifestyle that I have to balance it out somehow with vitamins and minerals. So I go every couple of weeks and try to do that so that, my skin doesn't, start rotting off and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So I got there and of course, like the nurse didn't show up. So I couldn't get an IV, which was so irritating because I actually borrowed Ron's car in order to do it. For a minute, I thought you had a cigar.
Oh, yeah, I kind of did that thing.
Yeah.
Well,
It looks like more of a meat stick now
it's
because
a
I'm
meat stick
taking a
that's
look.
been sitting in my bag for a long time, like
Mm,
in the car in the Phoenix Sun. So I was like, is it still good? But it is. I
yeah,
just was hungry, so
yeah. A dried, wrinkled piece of meat.
it
Nothing
pairs
like it.
it pairs well with my Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you may want to get used to that look if you and taste if you get a benefactor,
I
because
was just
that's
I was like, is
probably
that where
gonna
this is going?
it's probably gonna be a little bit about what you're gonna be dealing with on a
Mhm.
well, not daily basis. Because I think if we get I think if one of us gets a benefactor, they're gonna be old enough that they're not gonna want to do stuff every day.
Yeah.
It's just gonna it's not like a Hugh Hefner situation where like apparently he had to be satiated every day. I think we can play this a little differently and take more control of the situation.
Yeah. I think probably most guys get less prolific as time goes on,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which worked for us and our benefactor.
yeah, yeah. We just got to make sure that he's very, very, very old. I mean,
Hmm.
real old. Yeah. I mean, I really should start spending more time a little bit further north of here because that's where, I mean, Benefactor Central is
Muskoka.
now. Yeah, the problem is that I feel like they're going to be Trump lovers, but I don't care.
Nor do
I'm
I.
not. I don't need to bring politics to. You know what I'm going to do when he starts talking politics? I'm just going to put like little earbuds in and just nod my head, and be a good girl, good listener.
If he starts talking politics to me, I'm going to shove my dick down his throat.
Yeah.
Just
Shut him up
kidding.
real quick.
Yeah. Let me let this dog out. She's going to drive me nuts.
Okay.
She's going to be right back. So I just got home and I tried to take her out to get her to do her business and she wouldn't do it. So she's got to do it now.
Mm-hmm. So then she's going to have to come right back in, and she can't reach that knob because I
Mm-mm.
can't reach that. I can barely reach that knob. And she doesn't have thumbs. So then the rest of the weekend, I worked on Sunday.
Yeah, you were saying something
Um,
about Ron. Something about Ron.
I borrowed Ron's car,
That was it.
like to, go and do the IV situation. And
Mm.
I was like, oh, I can make a little day of it. And then, like, I got frustrated by the fact that I didn't get the IV. So I was like, fine, fuck it. I'm just going home.
Oh.
So I went back home and napped. Did you ever watch Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders making the team on CMT when it was on?
I had absolutely zero interest in watching that.
Oh, okay. Well, in some ways, I think that you would like it because it's very catty. Like the women who actually choose like the team and stuff like that. There's a lot of discussion about, losing weight, being a little heavy, to these girls who seemingly to me look perfect,
Yeah.
but you're a little hippie, got to take off a little weight. You don't have any showmanship, a lot of cut downs that I like. In fact, it seems like a dream job for me, honestly. This woman named Kelly Finglass has where she gets to choose be she basically runs the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, organizational, like the team part of it. So the buck stops with her really on who makes the team. Now there is a collective group of people who choose the team, but she makes a lot of people cry and just seems like a real dream job to me. Anyway, I watched every season of it when it was on CMT and was very upset whenever it wasn't renewed or they just stopped doing it. But now Netflix has a series about it with some of the same players, including one Kelly Finglass. So I started watching that this weekend, and it gets a little more like documentary type in it, but that yeah, it's still there, and I like it.
I was gonna say that sounds like a show that would have been on in the 2000s.
It was. I think it started. I dare say maybe 2006 or something like that.
That would have been my guess because that would have been around the same time as like Girls Next Door, like the
Mm-hmm.
Playboy show, and
Mm-hmm.
that movie about that show about those wannabe actors. It was
Mm-hmm.
all women, and Faye Dunaway is on the judge panel.
Oh, I don't
The
think I saw
Starlet,
that.
I think the Starlet, and then there was like the Swan.
Oh,
With
I
people.
love the Swan. Love the
There was
Swan.
there was that whole era of shows that you absolutely could not do now. It was all
Mm-hmm.
just like superficial and mean,
Yeah.
which makes for really
Um,
good TV. But so
Wonderful.
how does the new series compare to that? You said it's more documentary style, so I'm assuming it's less mean.
So far, it's less mean. I'm only 2 episodes in, though, so they've already let go of some veterans because you are not guaranteed a spot on that team. If you were a cheerleader the year before, that makes no difference. You must try out. I mean, it's a rigorous process. I love it. It's just fun for me to watch perfect women get torn down
Yeah.
and dreams be torn apart. I like that. That's why I loved, remember America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks? I loved that show. Anyway, anything that brings negativity, I like. I'm only a couple episodes in though, so I'm hoping that it gets a little more like the older one. But we'll see as they're going through the tryout stage right now. So tryouts last, a few weeks. I mean, it's not just you try out and then you get invited to training camp. So now they're at training camp.
Ah.
And from that, they whittle it down to only 36 people who can make it on the squad. So I know you don't like sports matches, but I'm
Or
telling you,
cheerleaders.
yes. But it's different. It's like dancers. They're more dancers than cheerleaders. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't know. I love it. Both of my sisters love it. I was so excited to bring them the news that it is back. And I'm happy to tell any listeners who may have been fans of Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders making the team that it is now a new documentary style program on Netflix called Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders, I think America's Sweethearts or something like that. Watch it. It's like number 2 on Netflix right now, by the way.
It sounds like a big number 2 to me.
Mm.
I couldn't not say it.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what we haven't done?
What's
Well, this is July 1st when this is airing.
Holy shit.
It's campaign launch day.
It is campaign launch day. Happy campaign launch day.
Happy cheers. I hope if you're listening to this, I hope you're drinking right now. At home, on the sofa, at work, in the car, wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
At a bar.
At a drive-through liquor store in Phoenix or in Arkansas.
Yes.
You know, they have drive-through liquor stores in Arkansas too. Not everywhere. I think it's county driven, but
in these top tier states.
Yeah. So we hope that you are enjoying the campaign. We're hoping that you are enjoying the website reset. If you haven't, go take a look at www.theforbiddenpod.com and all of our social channels, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook at The Forbidden Pod, just to see what we're up to these days.
Yeah, and this is kicking off our first in our limited series on abductions.
Yes, abductions, which is always
fun,
fascinating to me. You know, because they either in one of two ways, like
alive.
dead or alive, or completely unsolved. You know, where they are just never found. It's interesting. My sister went to law school, and a gal that she went to law school with actually told her that she was abducted when she was a kid and survived it. Now, I don't know the details of this, but I've never known anyone who has been abducted personally. Have you?
I don't think so. I don't recall anyone.
Have you ever had an animal abducted?
No.
No, me neither. That would drive me crazy because I would always wonder, you know, like if they were being taken care of, if they were being used for dog bait or, you know, something like that. That would be horrible.
I would be devastated.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be because like people do steal people's animals. Like
Paris Hilton's dog got stolen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not long ago. And I don't know if she ever got it back.
I want to say that Ron told me once that he had a dog who got stolen when he was like in college or something like that. Ron, am I lying?
No, I did.
He did have a dog.
Yeah.
It was a chow chow that got stolen. Yeah. Yeah.
It probably bit that person's face off.
Hopefully it bit its face off. But yeah, he literally had a dog in college that got stolen. I mean, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I assume that you are going to be leading our first episode of this campaign with an abduction story.
I am. I thought it was your turn. Just kidding.
Oh shit. I was about to, there was a point today that I was like, wait a minute, is this my story day? Because I know what I want to do it on, but I don't know. I didn't know if it was my turn or not. So I'm very happy to hear that I was correct and not doing a damn thing about it today.
Yeah. I actually changed mine like 3 times.
Wow.
Because I think I talked to you briefly. Like I had one in mind and then I switched it to another one. And then I switched it back to the other one because it was a Phoenix story.
Mm-hmm.
Which sort of ties in with our photo shoot, which is launching today, listener. But ultimately, I landed on this other story because it is so batshit bonkers crazy. Like, one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. And I was just like, I have to lead with this one.
Okay.
So, which is why I'm drinking the South Africa wine. Because rather than Phoenix, we're going to South Africa today.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. I'll just jump right into it.
Dive in.
So my sources for this are 3 articles from 2023. One is allthat'sinteresting.com. The other is from georgeherald.com. And the other is from news24.com. I also used a story from crimelibrary.org. I pulled some stats from afrobarometer.org. And I also pulled some weather from weatherspark.com because I just was very interested.
Stats, weather, you overachiever, you.
I was like, I'm turning into my dad. I was like, what was the weather like there? But
I love weather.
And it always fascinates me. I mean, I wouldn't say it fascinates me. It's just sort of like bizarre to me to think about the Southern Hemisphere having Christmas during their summer.
Right. Yeah.
So, but anyway, I digress. So, and here's why I was thinking of that. I'll just jump right into it. On December 18th, 1994, Another Night by Real McCoy and You Gotta Be by Desiree conquered the airwaves.
Oh my God, that reminds me of college so much.
The Santa Claus and Dumb and Dumber ruled at the box office, and 27-year-old Alison Botha was enjoying a pleasant day at the beach with friends in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. So Port Elizabeth is at the very bottom at the tip of South Africa,
Just the tip.
but there's like Cape Town on the west side,
Okay.
and Port Elizabeth is on the right side of the
Okay.
tip.
Mm-hmm.
And then is it Johannesburg? Is that how you pronounce it?
Johannesburg, I
Johannesburg?
believe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can never remember if they pronounce the J or not. Anyway, that's like further north. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, just to give you like a little context there, geographic context.
Mm-hmm.
Afterward, they all headed back to her apartment for an evening of pizza and games. As the night went on, her friends trickled out until finally Allison drove her one remaining friend home. So this is around 1 a.m. So she drives back to her apartment. It had been a hazy day, turning into fog, and with high temperatures right around 80. So again, December 18th, high temperatures around 80, which doesn't sound dissimilar from where you and I live.
Exactly. So we kind of are having a Southern Hemisphere
Yeah.
Christmas where we are.
Yeah. As she pulled back into her apartment complex and parked, she reached over to her passenger seat to grab a bag of laundry and suddenly felt a warm gust of wind. The driver's side door was open and a man stood pressing a knife against her throat.
Oh my God.
So, warning, I'm going to get into further into the story. There's sexual assault and some extreme violence. I encourage you to listen though, because the story is worth hearing out if you can stomach it. He forced her into the passenger seat, abducted her, and drove across town to pick up his friend at a nightclub. And the name of the nightclub, I didn't write it down, but it was called like Nighttime or something like that.
How original.
I know, it's just sort of cheesy. So they're in the they're driving through the parking lot trying to find his friend, can't find him. They pull into an alleyway, couldn't find him there. Anyway, they finally find this guy's friend. He gets in the car. The two then drive her out of town to a secluded area along the coastline where they both rape her. She redressed, hoping they would leave her, but after a short discussion, the two forced her to strip, stole her jewelry, her rings. The first attacker then attempted to strangle her, and she lost consciousness. But when they realized she was still breathing, the violence escalated.
Oh my God.
The two men stabbed her repeatedly, at least 30 times in the abdomen.
Oh my God. How can you be stabbed that many times in the abdomen? The abdomen is not that big of an area.
Yeah, it gets worse. They saw her leg twitch, and they decided they need to do more to kill her. So they slit her throat 16 times.
Oh my God.
They returned to her car and drove away. Somehow, Allison was still alive. Could you imagine?
Holy shit. No. I
She's
mean,
been
the amount of
strangled.
blood that she's lost,
She
been
was
strangled,
she was strangled
stabbed.
to the point of passing out, stabbed, and then had her throat slit from ear to ear 16 times. Still alive.
Wow.
Over the course of the attack, she had overheard their names, and realizing that she was bleeding out, she decided to write their names in the sand, along with a message that read, "I love mom."
Oh.
So, I'm sorry, I'm like getting emotional. This is so bonkers. I might cry. Okay, let me back up. Alison Botha was born on September 22nd, 1967, in Port Elizabeth, and had a fairly normal life. She lived with her mother and brother after her parents divorced. Sorry, I'm still choked up. After her parents divorced when she was 10, she attended the Collegiate High School for Girls in Port Elizabeth and served as head girl. After graduating, she traveled for a while before finding a job as an insurance broker, a job that she enjoyed. Okay, so I'm going to move back to the current time, and this part gets even more graphic.
Jesus. How?
Just wait. After leaving the message in the sand, she noticed headlights not far away and realized she was close to the road. And she just decided, I guess, like, I'm this close, I'm still moving, I have to try and get to the road. So she somehow managed the strength to pick herself up and make her way to the road. But as she maneuvered from the attack site, she felt something slimy extending from her abdomen and realized her intestines were outside of her body.
Oh, Lord.
So remember, she's naked. They had forced her to strip again.
Right.
She's naked. They had dropped her shirt on her back when they left her, just like tossed it on her like garbage. So she picks up her shirt and uses that to hold her stomach in.
Oh, my God.
So with one hand, she is trying to
Literally
hold
crawling.
what, like 26 feet of intestines, right?
Yeah.
Trying to hold her stomach in and get to the road. It gets worse. As she crawled forward, she weakened and her vision went dark. The wounds to her neck severed nearly all of the major muscles. Having nearly decapitated her, her head fell backward.
Oh, my God. This is absolutely insane. I've never heard anything this disturbing in my life.
So with her other hand, she held her head in place, and her vision returned. So she is holding her stomach in, she is holding her head onto her body, and continues onto the road. Somehow she reached the asphalt and collapsed in the center of the road. Marine Drive, this is where she is. Marine Drive is a winding road that follows the coastline and is flanked by low-growing shrubs and grass. There are not a lot of trees, and just beyond the brush on the south side of the road lies the rocky beach. So it's rural, it's late at night, it's like 2:30, 2:45 a.m. Not a lot of traffic, and she just lays there in the middle of the road,
Bleeding out.
bleeding out. So she feels headlights wash over her and raises her hand and waves. But the driver never exits the vehicle, and after parking for some period of time, which who knows, the driver drives around her.
What? A
And
horrible person.
and you have maybe it was like a young woman who was just panicked. Maybe this person drove off and was like, I need to call the police.
Right. I don't know what I would do. It would scare the shit out of me
I
because
don't either.
God, I mean, that the vision of that, I can't imagine.
And remember, this is in the mid 90s, so it's not like everyone has a cell phone at this point.
Exactly.
And if it's you, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to lift this person up and put them in your car?
Right. You're
So,
going to probably drive for help.
yeah. So I actually don't know what ended up happening there, if anything. So she continues laying there. Not long after, another vehicle approached and parked. Allison heard voices, and then I'm not going to get this name right. I think it's Tian Eilard. It's spelled Tiaan, is his first name. A veterinary student who was on vacation from Johannesburg with his friends knelt beside her and began to speak calmly to her. His friend called for an ambulance from his cell phone. So luckily, in the mid 90s, one of them has a cell phone.
Wow.
And thanks to his veterinary training, Tian tucked her thyroid back inside her body, in her neck, and applied pressure using his own shirt. He did his best to keep her awake, reminding her to breathe slowly. She motioned to her stomach, so he lifted her shirt and realized the true extent of her injuries. he said to her, oh my God, it's so crazy.
So sad.
He says, "You're going to be all right. Don't worry. You're not going to die on this road. I won't let you."
Wow.
Sorry, this is so crazy. I cried when I was reading this. And I was like, I'm not going to do this during recording. I've not even had a full glass of wine yet. Could you imagine? Oh my God, it would be so much worse. I'd be sobbing.
But I mean, it's so touching. I mean,
Yeah.
and like, I mean, what a comfort to her to hear something like that, during that time.
And what just like a yin and yang. Like you have the absolute worst in humanity in this story, and then you have the best. It's just
Right.
so wild. So he told her to squeeze his hand once for yes and twice for no, and they were able to determine details about the attack. So he asked her a lot of questions and kept her engaged and conscious. An hour and 45 minutes pass before the ambulance arrives.
Wow.
He rode with her to the hospital in the ambulance and would wait for her while she was in surgery. Surgery lasted just 3 hours.
That's amazing considering the extent of her injuries, I guess I should say.
Right? And the fact that the hospital where she is, this would have been what, like 4:45 a.m., something like that. So they're probably not even fully staffed yet.
Mm.
I read something about one of their surgeons wasn't there, and so they weren't sure if they were going to be able to start right away, but they just decided to. So surgery lasts 3 hours. Her neck had been cut from ear to ear and was deep enough that her spinal column was visible from the front.
Oh my God.
Miraculously, her carotid arteries and her voice box were intact. Her intestines had been ruptured and punctured in several places and were covered in dirt and debris. So they had to like not just repair but also wash and cleanse everything before putting it back into the body.
Right.
She survived.
Holy shit.
She's still alive today.
Oh my God.
So,
Do you hear that?
whoa, how dramatic.
Yeah.
Our recording. That was thunder.
That was lightning. It hit real close. Oh my God.
That's
Okay.
crazy.
Wow.
So she survived and was able to remember everything about the attack and her attackers. And it all happens very quickly from here. When she was abducted, Allison's first attacker identified himself as Clinton, but over the course of the incident, learned that his name was Franz Dutoit, DU space TOIT. Let's call him Dutoit because that's
Yes, I was about to say Dutoit, and that doesn't sound like a South African name to me.
right. And his friend, his name is Terence Kruger. Terence, so this is Afrikaans, Dutch, like a Dutch colony, right?
Yeah.
Terence is spelled Theuns, but it's pronounced Terence.
Okay.
I don't know, go figure. Last name Kruger, as in Freddy. They told her they were going to rape her and asked if she would resist. She said no, because she figured this might be my only chance to
Yeah.
survive, is if I comply. Later, recalling the attack, she said, "All I could see was an arm moving above my face, left and right, left and right. His movements were making a sound, a wet sound. It was the sound of my flesh being slashed open. He was cutting my throat with a knife again and again and again. It felt unreal, but it wasn't. I felt no pain, but it was not a dream. This was happening. The man was slashing my throat." She remembered hearing them speaking in Afrikaans. "Do you think she's dead?" asked one of the attackers. "No one can survive that," replied the other. Fucking proved them wrong. Shortly after coming out of surgery, detectives showed Allison a photo lineup, and she was able to identify both Franz and Tierns. So they
That's
had the photo lineup
incredible.
ready. Like these guys were on their radar already, and I'll get into that in a minute. At 5 a.m. on December 19th, officers raided the apartment where the two men were staying with two women and a baby. Except for here, this is a quote from, I think, one of the detectives. Except for the baby, the rest of them were still awake. The two men were bare-chested, very calm, and cooperated. The police found blood-stained clothes in the laundry basket and a knife, which still had some spatters of blood. It was found in a drawer, which is just gross. Like, you have a bloody knife and you just like put it back in the drawer.
And did their women know about this?
They must have. Hang on. Pool guy's here. Usually the pool guy comes early. Okay, so oh yeah, so the knife, which is just gross, that was still in the drawer. So Kruger was just 19 at the time, was interrogated first, and after learning that Allison had survived, confessed to his part in the crime. Because he's like, well,
Gotcha.
they have all, yeah, they didn't finish the job. He admitted that he had raped and stabbed Allison, but stated that Franz had inflicted most of the knife wounds. 26-year-old Franz was interrogated second. He corroborated Terrence's story, and detectives stated that he showed no remorse, even planning to find another girl the next day who they had planned on throwing from a 410-foot high bridge.
What animals?
Yeah. So Franz had previously been arrested for rape in March of 1994, but was released on bail for $16.40. And then again, on December 4th, 14 days before Allison, both Franz and Terrence raped a 21-year-old pregnant woman at gunpoint. She immediately reported the attack, but on December 5th, they were released on their own recognizance, provided that they returned to court on January 5th.
Do they just not take rape seriously over there?
Well, I'll get into that in a second, too. So both Franz Dutoit and Terrence Kruger pled guilty to 8 charges, including kidnapping, rape, and attempted murder. They were both found guilty and sentenced to life in prison in August of 1995. However, after serving 28 years, both were granted parole in July of 2023 and placed under supervision, whatever that means. No one really knows what that means. On her Facebook page, Alison Botha wrote, "The day I hoped and prayed would never come. When I was asked, how will you feel if they ever get parole? My immediate answer was always, I'm hoping I'll never find out." Since the attack, Alison Botha has traveled around the world speaking about her experience and has since written 2 books. I think there's also a documentary out there about her, which I need to watch. In 1995, she won the Rotarian Paul Harris Award for Courage Beyond the Norm and Femina Magazine's Woman of Courage Award. She was also honored as Port Elizabeth's Citizen of the Year. In 2016, oh, here it is, the documentary Allison was made about the survival story, winning 2 festival awards and several other nominations. During the attack, Franz and Terrence had specifically targeted Allison's reproductive organs. 30 stab wounds. Miraculously, in 2003, she welcomed the first of her 2 sons into the world. So not only did she recover and survive, she also was able to have children.
Wow, that's
That,
incredible.
when I was reading that, this was a Saturday morning. I was sitting in the backyard reading this and just like sobbing. In 2015, the 2 attackers were being considered for parole. One of Allison's supporters started a petition that would garner 16,000 signatures. And in July of 2023, they were released anyway. And then, do you remember Oscar Pistorius? After he allegedly murdered, I don't know if that was ever.
Reva Steenkamp? Yes.
Yep. The Reva Rebecca Steenkamp organization was established in her name. And the foundation released a statement about this, about the parole of these 2 men. They said One of the perpetrators was on bail after raping a pregnant woman when he brutally attacked and also raped Alison. So he has no respect for women or the law. We think the message that violence against women is unacceptable does not match their release. And here is a little bit of information just about South Africa and crimes against women. The police minister reported that from July to September of 2023, so 3 months in 2023, South Africa recorded 10,516 rapes, 1,514 cases of attempted murder, 14,401 assaults against female victims. In the same period, 881 women were murdered. This is over the course of 3 months just in South Africa.
I've always heard that South Africa is very violent. I didn't, and just in general, I didn't realize how much so against women until this, not only this story, but the Oscar Pistorius, because I followed that one very closely. And I couldn't believe, how little time that he got and actually served for killing his partner like that.
Yeah. So this is the last thing here. The country's female homicide rate is about 6 times the global average, which is just insane. I It's like that culture just not propagates. What's the word I'm looking for? Not nourishes or encourages, but it like
Well, it
man,
certainly doesn't deter violence against women for sure.
it absolutely doesn't. And just the fact that after his first attack, Franz was released on bail for $16
Right.
says a lot about that culture and law enforcement and just frankly a complete lack of respect for women.
Yeah. I mean, as a former victim of violence myself, violence against women, not a rape, but just I was assaulted, and I was so thankful how seriously it was taken, in the United States, and it was nowhere near this level. So to hear that somebody could get out on that little, I mean, that's not even a slap on a wrist. That's basically a lunch out.
Right.
Is just appalling to me,
Yeah.
you know?
It's truly heinous and so upsetting. This story is crazy enough if it had just been a one off, but to learn, and I didn't even get to this point in my research until the end because I was so like focused in on the story itself. So when I started doing some research and learning that it's just such an issue across the board there. And I guess I should say for people that are listening in our part of the world, it's your mind might go to maybe it's like race related crimes because it's Africa, but South Africa is very white. I mean, it's
Yes.
very mixed,
Yes.
and it sounds like crime against women is also very mixed. Not that it matters either way, because it doesn't.
Mhm.
But it is just crazy to me. But I think it's because contextually speaking, here in the U.S., I think you hear more about crimes against white women than you do of crimes against black women or indigenous women, but that's just because they're not publicized as much.
Yeah,
Or
it's not covered by the media, as much.
yeah, maybe more now than it was 5 years ago or 10 years
Mhm.
ago, but still not. So I think it's yeah, it's just crazy to me. It was just such a bizarre, wild story. So Megan actually sent me a TikTok on this several weeks ago, and I didn't believe it at first. I thought someone was like pretending like it was a real story, but it was fictional. And then so started Googling it, and I found it was real. It just doesn't sound real to be
No.
attacked that severely and survive.
It's truly one of the wildest stories I've because I feel like how could you survive all of that? You
Yeah.
know,
The part with the stomach, and then with her head basically flopping backward and like losing vision and still managing to maneuver to the road. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy.
so disturbing and touching at the same time. And what a freaking warrior this woman is, man.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. She must have been going on full throttle, like, they say that when you get attacked, you're not even just attacked, but if you're hurt or something, what is it? Like your cortisone or whatever, like goes through the roof or whatever in your body. And sometimes you just can't feel things, and you gain the strength that you normally wouldn't have. But this is like overtime, crazy.
Yeah. And I just sort of touched on it. There's so many more details. That article, the biggest article that I read was that crimelibrary.org article. It's pages. There's so much information there, but it was saying like they cut her thyroid, and on most humans even just a nick of your thyroid could be fatal.
I had no idea that I knew like the carotid artery and all that kind of stuff is like a detriment. Like if that gets cut, like you're totally screwed. But I didn't realize that the thyroid had such a it was so sensitive. If something happened to it.
Yeah, so crazy. So anyway, that was my first. There's so many different types of abductions, and I think when I first started looking, I was looking for one of those stories where didn't you do one not long ago that was yes, I think it was from the 60s where that guy had
Stalking
abducted
Mary.
stalking Mary. I was looking for more of like I'm air quote traditional abduction story like that versus this where it was sort of a combination of like serial attack with it was like a temporary abduction, you
Right.
know,
Right.
with a goal to murder. But
Yeah, just so many sad parts to that story. It was very emotional. I can understand how you got emotional telling it because I had tears welling up in my eyes just thinking about, like what the fear that she must have been going through, but how she had the wherewithal to like think about holding herself together literally to survive all of this and then being able to get out of it, have children, have such wonderful people help her out. Thankfully, they had
yeah,
a cell phone in the mid 90s, which is, I mean, that was, I can't imagine. I, I can't imagine that like a lot of South Africa was as technologically advanced as even the US in the mid 90s with regards to cell
right.
phones and all that kind of stuff. How lucky she was because not everybody had a cell phone in the mid 90s here either, as you said. So that
Yeah.
woman got lucky and unlucky and lucky in so many ways that one night. And how cool that she was still able to have children and that she's able to tell her story and be recognized and have
Yeah.
be a part of somewhat of the change that may be happening over there, but it seems like they got a long way to go.
Yeah, it does. And I actually just realized this, but she's on TikTok. But when I looked her up, she only had a handful of posts, and the last one was from 2023. And it just occurred to me, I should check the timestamps. I'm just curious. I'm wondering if she stopped posting after they were released.
Dude, I'd go in hiding, I
Yeah,
think.
I would too.
I wouldn't want them to know where I was.
Yeah, I mean that was always her concern. So, yeah, that's just sort of a tragic. What a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's like she'd really turned her life around. I hate using that turn of phrase, but she'd really made the most of, like, honestly, the most horrifying, horrible experience you can go through. And then to have that happen, knowing that your attackers are back out.
I can't
So,
imagine.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, that
You're
was
lagging right now. I don't know if it's your internet or mine. Is your internet back on track?
yeah,
If not, I can get on my backup internet. It could be because it is wailing here still.
yeah. I'm showing full bars, so I think I'm okay on my end.
Okay, cool. Well, we talked about where everyone can follow us on social media a little bit earlier. So I would say continue to listen and rate and review us on Spotify and Apple, and continue to write into us if you have. We'd love.
I think I lost you. I'm going to assume that your internet is out. Okay, she's gone. Good, it's just us. Amanda's such a bitch. Just kidding. So, yes, as Amanda was saying, check out our new campaign, which is launched on our website, theforbiddenpod.com, on social media at The Forbidden Pod, and send in your own abduction stories. If you have been abducted, if you are currently abducted, anything like that, at hello@theforbiddenpod.com. And as always, I'll do this alone, sadly, listener. Thank you.